So,
Oh,
Michael, what's your
fucking
choice?
Jeff Hopkins. What a fucking dick.
Asshole.
Jeff is such a garbage human being.
Hey, you're listening to the 50th episode of Mount Rushmore. I'm Jeff, and I'm joined by my cohorts Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
When you become 50, you can be indulged in a little bit of introspection, but we're examining not our place in life, but the places the Mount Rushmore monument has been in movies and TVs and songs and poems and deaf comedy throwdown poetry slams.
Sure.
Okay,
All
cool.
all four of my choices are
Deaf
comedy
comedy
slam
Oh, man.
poetry. So
Well, in case you didn't know, this is the Mount Rushmore of Mount Rushmore in celebration of our 50th podcast. So, Michael, this was your choice. Justify it.
well,
Yeah, please.
I think that every quarter of episodes we do, every 25, I generally find some sort of Rushmore-y type thing to talk about.
We get
So,
kind of meta.
a little bit meta.
The thing that's about the thing,
on
the thing.
Yeah, on the 25th episode, we talked about the movie Rushmore, which has nothing to do with Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
But then this one, I thought, well, let's actually talk about Mount Rushmore, but not talk about Mount Rushmore.
Sure. Okay, well, it's your choice. So, Richard, why don't you jump in?
Yeah, okay, so this is the obvious one, would be North by Northwest.
Yeah, it's on mine too.
Sure. So I figured we'd just get that one, knock that one right out of the way.
Right.
So that is the icon. I don't know, for me, it's the iconic.
That's Chris Tucker, Jackie Chan.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
the one. No, you're thinking of North by Northwest 2.
North by North Rush Hour.
You know what's interesting about this movie? It's amazing they have two very iconic scenes from it that you could almost say, oh, that was that as well? You know, with the
To the crop duster?
the crop duster scene.
Sure.
But like climbing down the face of Mount Rushmore is, right up there with that one.
Yeah, Hitchcock actually thought about naming the movie The Man Inside Lincoln's Nose at one point.
No, really?
Yeah, no, seriously.
That's ridiculous.
That's, it's Hitchcock.
It ended
it's
up-
kind of ridiculous.
It ended up being a Double Dare skit.
Yeah, right.
Walt Whitman was the man inside Lincoln's nose.
Oh, was he?
If my poetry 101 class proves.
Was that deaf comedy poetry?
That's what
class?
totally was guilty.
Yo, Walt Whitman. I don't know where
So
I'm
what?
going with that.
It's definitely, literally like iconic because people are crawling on an icon. Eva Marie Saint and,
And
Cary Grant.
Cary Grant.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's
he's pretending to be scared and heterosexual.
right, and it's also pretty obvious they're not on the actual Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
It's, I guess they wanted to film there, and the National Park Service said something like, well, that's fine as long as you don't depict any acts of violence.
there goes the gunshot.
Oh, yeah.
There goes
Yeah.
the knife. There goes the
There goes
stepping
the
on the
chick
hands.
Stepping on hands. So Hitchcock's like, no, sure, we'll be fine. And then said something to a reporter about all the stuff they were going to do on it. It got back to him and they yanked the permit.
I do like that they recreated it pretty well. Like
Sure.
if you look at if you watch the clips from it, or if you go watch the movie.
Yeah,
There's like this striation.
yeah.
In the
It's not
in the cliff.
The surface isn't smooth as
Yeah.
one would guess from a distance.
Yeah. So I like that they did try to get some sort of realism, although I don't know how easy it is to get up to the very top from the visitor center or whatever.
Sure, yeah. I mean, apparently this movie was sort of written around the chase scene and how do we get to it. Mm-hmm. Like Hitchcock has said something like, I always wanted to film a chase scene on Mount Rushmore. So the screenwriter said, oh, okay, let me work on that. And then the whole thing kind of just worked backwards from there.
Oh, it's pretty good. This is not too different from the robotic spiders that we were discussing a few weeks ago.
Right. I think that's how Wild Wild West was also created. Yeah.
Well, there's a fun one to start off with because it seems of some choices that we might make, one of the most legit. I mean, Hitchcock is a legit American filmmaker icon or British icon, and this was very respectfully dealing with a fairly new monument in U.S. history at that time.
Yeah, it's interesting. You think about it. I mean, when was Mount Rushmore? It was like 30s, right?
That's
It was
about right.
So, I mean, it
41 or 42, yeah.
was it that late?
Yeah.
Oh. So it hadn't been around for like 15 years by that point, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like...
20 years after?
Yeah, something
25?
like that. Yeah, not even that. It was like 10 or 15 years after.
I wonder what else. What recent thing has...
That's what I was trying to think. If there's
Is
something...
there anything that's super recent that's been so
What
publicly...
they could be on that's not Rushmore, you mean?
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
if you
What
were
would
to
be
make
the modern example?
every Bond film seems to take the latest thing, like in espionage films, they're in the Channel or they're on the London Eye and there's a shootout.
That's a good
or
one.
they
That's a
go-
good one.
they
Oh,
go-
Trump's wall.
or Trump's
In
wall.
about 10 years, we can
Yeah.
do a chase scene where someone just hops over the wall.
You nailed it.
So okay, great. We come out swinging and agreeing on the first one. So your first choice would be what, Michael? Or your second would
My
be
second choice would be the destruction of Mount Rushmore in Superman 2, when General Zod, Ursa, and the mindless creature Non are flying around. They get to Earth, and they just start blasting away.
Also on my list, by
Is
the way.
it?
Yeah.
Hey, that's all right. 2 for 2.
Yeah. Great minds think alike. Also
And
us.
you've seen there have been destructions of Mount Rushmore before or since then. Mars Attacks had a really good one.
Yeah, that almost made my list instead, because that was a good one.
But I felt like, well, they just ripped it off from this.
Of
Yeah.
course.
The best thing about those evil Kryptonians were that they were just unnecessarily mean.
They're just jerks.
Yeah.
I like that Non kills a snake, burns a snake, or maybe Zod does. One of
Zod,
them
I
does
think,
it.
does.
And they kind of make fun of some kid. Like in Houston, they're just like,
These baddies are definitely the. It seems like Richard Keel is kind of the silent kind of ogre of them.
Yeah.
And then they do feel like, on some topics we've had recently seem to kind of touch on these too, because they do feel, if Superman is kind of a character of the Cold War, these also feel like just 3 Russian jerks who show up.
Right.
As did the supporting cast in the latest Superman film. It seems like they all seemed like they were Slavic or Russian or something like that. They weren't your buddy from Iowa or something.
it's frighteningly realistic compared to what's going on today.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that it's like they had 3 villains. So it's like they really wanted, I feel like they really wanted to do this scene. Like they had it planned out. Okay, they'll chisel, their laser. Well, there's only 3 of the villains. What do we do with the 4th one?
That's right.
Oh, Lincoln will just collapse.
They just blast his face off.
just knock it right off. They don't put like somebody's dog or something. One of their pets. I don't know.
I do like that they set up these 3 coming to Earth in the first movie. Mm-hmm. They get trapped in like the Phantom Zone or the Negative Zone, or in that piece of plastic or glass that flies through space, and they set it up. A movie before, which is some hell of pre-planning that you don't really see a lot of, or like you see. I guess you didn't see a lot of back then, but you see a lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot of it now.
Yeah. When every film today is created with the idea of an ongoing series or trilogy, at least.
Yeah.
The thing that I think is the biggest crime of these Kryptonians is fashion, because they're all dressed in disco jumpsuits. They look like they're wearing the cape that you get at Supercuts around your body,
But shiny.
but shiny.
Well, that's why they were actually kicked off of Krypton. It wasn't that they were trying to overthrow the government.
That's right.
They just bad fashion sense.
Fashion
crimes.
police showed up.
Fashion police.
Jor-El was there in his white day glow, super shiny outfit, and they're like, not in fashion, not in style right now.
Everyone knows you don't wear silver after,
That's right.
I don't know, whatever they call Kryptonian lit Easter. I
Yeah.
don't know what that would be, but
I wonder how much of when Superman becomes a dick and he gets like infected by red kryptonite in Superman 3.
I'm just thinking of a dick infected by kryptonite right now.
In Superman 3, he gets like poisoned by red kryptonite, and he just starts doing awful things as well. And I wonder if he was like thinking back to these 3 flying around. Like, he straightens out
Like
the
he could-
Leaning Tower of Pisa.
like he could top them.
Yeah. Like I gotta be he must have gotten it from somewhere.
The act that they perpetrate on our culture by defacing our national monument seems kind of like quaint now, because it seems like the new villain would hack into everyone's iPhone and take a nude selfie of you and put it on the internet or something like that. It just seems like, and
If everyone's nude, no one is nude.
no one is
Right.
It assumes that also the namesake of our podcast is actually something everybody's paying attention to on a daily basis, when it's really this kind of dumpy thing in South Dakota, right?
Yeah.
Did I just drop some truth bombs on you guys?
Jeff just got woke.
It just made us reassess this entire podcast. Is this thing actually that important? Is this a symbol of what's important?
What are we doing with the podcast at all now? I don't know.
Well, just the idea is that they're defacing something that we all love and admire, and that
I think collectively too, except for Native Americans.
I do. Yeah, I do. Well, that shirt, is that on your list?
No, it's not.
Okay, so
We talked about this.
yeah, please mention. You're the one who saw the shirt, I believe, initially, right?
Me and my wife were in Lompoc, I think. And just,
a romantic getaway.
We were driving up the coast and we stopped.
Stopping in the jail.
And we pulled over and we were just walking through the town and there was a store that was selling it said the real Mount Rushmore. It had like Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse and a couple other Native Americans on there. I don't think they're happy.
Was one Iron Eyes Cody?
Maybe. I sent you guys a picture. Tatanka from WWF.
Yeah.
I sent you guys a picture of it at some point. It must have been when we were since we've been doing this podcast or talking about it. But it was just, it's amazing that this Mount Rushmore thing can be interpreted so many different ways, and some people just really don't like it.
I do
very good reason.
To kind of put a bow on the Superman 2. I do appreciate the very next scene. They show the back of the president's head, who is certainly not Ronald Reagan. Certainly has a Ronald Reagan like pompadour, but obviously they can't say it's Ronald Reagan. Says something like to the effect of, "Well, if they can do this, just imagine what else they can do." It's like, yeah, okay. They can blast other statues.
Yeah, they're good
too.
at stone carving.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those Easter Island things, they could shrink them right down, make them those heads like
turn the Sphinx into a dog or something that everybody
give it
likes.
a nose back.
That's right.
The carving of the Mount Rushmore, which we've seen in this, and there's some other samples where they show people recarving or defacing Mount Rushmore, led me to learn that the Mount Rushmore that we see is only half done to plan, and that the designers had originally shown them from waist up. So you were going to see...
Yeah, from the head down, they were wearing these black kind of lame jumpsuits.
We could only hope.
Well, of course, you could see their butts on the other side, right? We've all seen that.
But I did say that when you do see the model of the founding father, or not, these aren't the founding fathers, the Mount Rushmore guys, I do wonder, where are their hands? Because they're sitting kind of close together. That seemed kind of awkward. Okay, so I guess we are at our halftime. Unusually, we have gotten to our halftime pretty quickly here, but that gives us the opportunity to ask you to do us a favor. It's our 50th anniversary, our 50th episode, and if we could do anything to kind of ask of anything on this momentous occasion, it's that you might go to the iTunes page and download, rate, and review any of the last 49 episodes you haven't heard. And go ahead and, if you don't mind, give us some kind of review. Go ahead and tell folks what you think. It doesn't have to be real good. It could just be good. And you could also rate, 1 to 5, 5 being the best. And then join us in the dialogue about what Mount Rushmore podcast is on the Mount Rushmore podcast Facebook page. You can tweet at us and you can Instagram at us too. All right. So these gentlemen have each told me their first two choices, which happen to be the same choices. So I wonder if this trend is going to continue by Richard letting me know his third choice.
Okay, so my third choice is Mount Rushmore's depiction in Team America World Police.
Holy shit.
Is it on your list too?
3 for 3, guys.
Oh, we're almost there. We are almost there.
Okay. This is going to be our first 12-minute episode.
No, let's see why, if we have differing ideas of why this was an interesting scene or something funny, or Richard, go.
Well, I think there's a common sort of trope of some sort of secret layer being inside of Mount Rushmore.
Sure, it holds.
Could hold.
It holds,
national secrets, national treasures,
maybe.
So the idea. There's long been rumored to be something mysterious inside there. What's inside there?
Nothing. There's like a room inside of Lincoln's
There's a room
head or something
that holds some sort of like founding document, not the actual, just copies of like the Constitution and copies of different documents in like a vault that's behind a
I would
big
just love if it's just
granite.
the worst hotel room you could ever get. Like we went on TripAdvisor, 2 clicks later, we're staying at this room in a nose. Oh man.
That's a really difficult Airbnb to get into and out of. No Wi-Fi, no pets allowed.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you don't want the pets. You don't want somebody's dog to piss on Lincoln's nose.
The cleaning fee is inappropriate.
The patriotism and the overblown posturing of Team America seems like it would almost be inevitable that a monument of some kind was defaced or.
Well, that's when in the movie that's where like Team America's base is, right?
Yeah, they're
Only
head of operations.
Yeah,
You would say.
one might say. And of course is later destroyed by Michael Moore on a suicide mission.
That's
bombing it.
It's 2 times this thing's been destroyed so far in our podcast.
Right.
I love that it's a base of operations, that it's this great symbol of national pride, but then it's inhabited by these awful people.
Yeah.
Bumbling idiots.
And that the
White House.
Yeah. And that it transforms and opens up and these jets fly out and you get this super patriotic America fuck yeah song.
Right.
It's a perfect place for them to house, their satire.
Right. I mean, and because it is such a, let's face it, if someone explains to you, look, see that big mountain there? No, not that one. The other one, way in South Dakota. Yeah, no one is there. I know. But I'm going to just fucking start carving presidents. Big, really big.
There's a great hubris.
It's just, hubris. Just
not done since the Egyptians that have carved their own visage into giant blocks and built thing. Like,
there's
no other
something
country does this.
Distinctly American. I was just going to say, distinctly Americanly, like hubris, bigly. It's a very bigly thing to do. And I think from that standpoint, it, like you said, I think Jeff, you said it, it just fits in so perfectly with the South Park view of the world.
Sure. So, but on this podcast, we've mentioned the real events that are happening in the world many times. And since it comes out usually a couple of weeks after those things happen, we've, I'm sure, been kind of out of touch sometimes with what's going on in the news. But the new lack of ambiguity towards the idea of what America represents and the idea that, America isn't something that's carved in stone. It's something that we recarve every year to put new faces on it and new ideas and to invite new people into it. It's just such a challenge lately because it seems like the idea of what is an American and what we're allowed has been so limited by recent political changes. So it's just that's something in the movie Team America: World Police. We get to have a monologue about how Americans are dicks fuck pussies, but dicks also fuck assholes. And it really does kind of say what America's kind of good at. We're the bully that sometimes takes revenge on the bullies, but now we're just one big asshole, it seems. So, sorry.
No, it's
a good rant.
Yeah. No, it's
That's
good.
Glad you got that off your chest. Take a breath. Take a breath.
Okay, now rate and review our podcast. Okay, so have we both said what we like? Michael, did you? I thought Team America was kind of hit and miss. I've not been a big South Park fan. I can't say the last time I saw South Park, but like there were moments that were just sublimely transcended the kind of very kind of sophomoric humor of Team America.
Well, that's South Park in general.
I think
isn't it?
Matt Stone and Trey Parker have been able to do that. I mean, they've been doing it for 20 years now with pop culture. I think what is amazing about them is that they don't pull any punches and they don't have one viewpoint. I think they're pretty cynical on things in general, the world. I think that's their only constant. I don't think they're liberal or Democrat or conservative or Republican. I think that they are just, they see the emperor has no clothes.
Yeah.
Just kind of straightforward. And as much as this is a satire of America, it's a celebration of America as well and all that's good and bad about it. I mean, Mount Rushmore is a mountain that celebrates the founding fathers, celebrates the progress of the nation, celebrates some achievements, but it's also like we destroyed a mountain to do it.
Right.
And to put your face out there. There's something very harmful about what's done in a wave of patriotism, and I think South Park is very good at kind of calling out both sides and being like, you can't be one thing, you are also the other thing at the same time, and they've always done that. And I think this movie, at the time, it's easier to laugh at their kind of racist and shitty, impersonations of Kim Jong-il or whoever, but at the same time, those guys are fucking assholes.
Yeah,
right.
So like, who gives a shit? Like, let's make fun of assholes regardless of whatever. And sometimes the assholes are us.
It's us, yeah.
That's a quote I've seen going by Facebook recently, which means it's probably misattributed, but Roosevelt saying how one should be, patriotism is about having allegiance towards one's country, not the president. And I think that's something that a lot of people are...
Another good quote by Roosevelt that we should keep in mind.
Bitches ain't shit.
Yeah, bitches ain't shit, exactly.
Okay, so... let's see if there's another match-a-rooney here.
There's like the match game, by the way.
It does.
Which one of us is Charles Nelson Riley? Which one's Richard Dawson? And which one's...
I think Jeff might be tipping his hand or my hand or our hands here.
Yeah.
And you know what? We always said that we're going to shut this podcast down if we match all four. And you know what? Let's keep going. Because I'm going to say, we're going to count to three and we're both going to say it, okay? Okay.
1, 2, 3. It's Mount Rushmore.
What?
Mount Richmore.
No.
Okay, good. All right. So,
fucking
Michael, what's your choice?
Jeff Hopkins. What a fucking
Asshole.
dick. Jeff is such a garbage human being.
I don't know, guys.
The worst.
You know what?
Worst.
Jeff Hopkins, great actor.
Yeah, totally.
Had me fucking snookered the entire time.
Oh, had me beat. So go with yours.
So my choice is the Washington Nationals Mount Rushmore 4 racing presidents,
Love it.
which are the four...
we're talking about sports again, Michael.
yeah, sorry, Browntown. This is four people in mascot costumes, or in presidential mascot costumes. George, Abe, TJ, and Teddy.
Right.
Who in the fourth inning of Washington Nationals games will race around the ballpark.
They're like the man. Nice. It's like the big foam mascot head.
Big foam mascot heads. And the crowd goes crazy.
They go crazy.
Like nutso for this. For these the four representations of Mount Rushmore racing. I guess for a number of years, or for the majority of time that they've done it, Teddy
didn't win.
Oh, wow.
It took a long time. It wasn't until like 2012.
It's when they clinched the playoffs.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, I think they tied it to that somehow.
Okay.
I think
like
Teddy,
the first time they made the playoffs.
Teddy was the most kind of robust of any of these presidents. I think you could probably take 10 presidents to beat that guy.
Well, anything. Lincoln though?
Lincoln, I think Teddy was the guy who was
Lincoln was the one that fought vampires.
Right, we established this in
God.
the previous episode.
Can't believe it.
And he's got longer legs. You got to think that stride.
Lincoln leg lock, yeah.
Yeah, well,
he would trap people in the Lincoln leg
yeah,
lock.
exactly.
It's not a Lincoln bear. It's a teddy bear. And speaking of bear, that mustache, come on.
No, those long legs. Though. He's just chewing up more ground than the other ones, right?
Well,
good thing FDR wasn't on the. This is why FDR is not on the.
Roosevelt was
Mount Rushmore.
Roosevelt was a rough rider. Yeah, he would have been the wheelchair guy.
Guy getting pushed in a cage.
I'm back.
Yeah,
it depends who was pushing him, though. What if you
But
got a
it's
fast
Carl Lewis.
Carl Lewis pushing FDR.
Yeah.
It's a winner.
Yeah.
I like that there is a connection to the mountain that way, but that you can just apply.
It's just nonsense.
It's silly.
And there's usually a lot of cheating and shenanigans and tomfoolery.
You can't trust a mascot.
No, especially not a presidential mascot.
Can't trust him.
Literally running for office. In Kansas City, I think that what I like about that is it just kind of means something in Kansas City. It's like a hot dog and mustard and ketchup are running or something like that.
Previous guest to the show, Scott Jones, is a scamp, and I believe that he had an entire book of different mascot antics and things that you could do.
Scott also
he was involved in it a little bit too.
Scott also played at a Kansas City Comets halftime of the indoor soccer league.
Oh wow!
It was a mascot soccer game, and he was dressed up as
something.
A bottle of maybe it was all like local. So it was like he might have been like a thing of Bryant's.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been ketchup because he would have been offended by that.
Right.
He wouldn't have admitted to being ketchup. Yeah. It must have been barbecue sauce or mustard.
Yeah, it was something like that. And it was all like local.
The winner, the Pandora Sex Shop dildo. 15% off marital aids at Pandora Sex Shop. So, okay. So, Richard, what's yours?
Okay, so as I already said, my last one is Mount Richmore from the movie Richie Rich.
I watched a clip of this
Did you?
before he showed up, and I didn't remember that John Larroquette was in it.
Yeah, and Edward Herrmann, and it's got like a
Pretty good cast.
much better cast than the movie deserves.
Yeah.
It's a garbage movie. But one of the
It was like the Macaulay Culkin. I'm on the edge of being cute to my voice is cracking.
Right.
And
this is like after Home Alone 2, and you can tell his dad's just trying to cash in for as much money as they possibly can before he turns into Frogman.
What were your expectations for this film? Robert De Niro could play Richie Rich. It would be a shitty movie.
It's as someone who is a lover of the Richie Rich
Yeah,
comics now.
it's good. It's got good
You know,
stuff.
it's no Archie.
Yeah.
It's no Andy Capp.
are they going to come out with the edgy Richie Rich movie pretty soon?
Well, as I mentioned, I think I mentioned this in our Twitter. I'm really excited for the edgy Andy Capp
Yeah.
Yeah.
movie on HBO, getting deep into alcoholism and domestic abuse in Britain. One of the opening scenes is Edward Herrmann is Richie Rich's dad, Bob Rich. I don't know what his name is looking through his telescope at his palatial estate and notices that the family has been carved into a mountain. And it turns out that he says, well, I know I said we needed a family portrait, but it turns out the family sculptor decided to do it on their own.
You know.
Because they're assholes. They're rich assholes. Which is kind of like, it's almost kind of refreshing that this whole movie is about just entitled rich people, and they're supposed to be the good guys.
Yeah.
And usually anything where someone builds their own Mount Rushmore or defaces it, that's like the villain.
Yeah.
Right? But no, these guys are supposed to be the good guys. And the whole plot revolves around John Larroquette, as I think their lawyer or something,
Yeah.
is under the impression that something really valuable is inside of Mount Richmore. Mm-hmm. And it turns out it's not money or anything. It's just like family photos and things like that.
Memories.
Well, I don't get it. Richie Rich seems, I think he originated in the 50s, but he seems very much of the same era that Annie was, where everyone has this coming in the Depression and coming out of it. Everything has this fantasy about just having some money, much less this incredible amount of wealth.
There's a benevolent rich person out there that is going to give you money and help you out.
Yeah.
Whether you're a...
And his status as the poor little rich boy, I think, was what was supposed to endear us to this guy. But I was, as you were saying that, I wondered if Richie Rich had like a friend named Polly Poor, or his.
Well, he is the poor little rich boy.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make any goddamn sense.
No.
It's not happening.
I was looking at some of the names. Billy Bellhops is a kid who worked at his father's hotel.
Wonder what his job was.
Cadbury, the butler of Richie Rich. Casper. See, that's funny. Casper, the only son of extremely wealthy parents. Didn't Lisa Simpson say that Casper was perhaps
that was
a
a joke. That was a joke in The Simpsons.
Freckles Fenwick. So I guess if we've all registered our choices, is that okay? So this would be the time where I kind of jump in with my own little choice that I have here before determining the winner of this.
So basically, which of the last ones did you like better?
Which of the last ones that I like?
Hey, he doesn't have to choose one of that. He could choose
his own.
He could put his in there.
Yeah,
and
I could put mine in.
Kick one of our dumb ones out of there.
Let me just tell you.
Wouldn't be against it.
I'm going to tell you what mine is, and you're going to know very quickly that I would never in a million years choose this. This is on the Mount Rushmore of Mount Rushmores. But I just kind of wanted to see if there was something that existed in fiction or literature or whatever. And I searched a Mount Rushmore poetry. It got this poem that I guess we can put in the show notes, written by poet Ralph Taylor. I don't know who he is. He's just a guy on the internet.
Was he ever on the Deaf Poetry Slam?
I think he was.
Okay.
Does the color of my skin make you grin? No, okay. That's my Deaf Poetry Jam. Mount Rushmore. I looked up at the mountain. The result, I was in awe! ! Every stanza of this ends with an exclamation mark. George, Teddy, Tom, and Abe were the faces, that I saw. Faces carved in granite. 14 years to get it done. Over 400 people did the stonework. Completed. October 1941. Why were these four chosen? May have been a mystery. It's because they represent the first 130 years of America's history! And it keeps going. And
Does it talk about how many people died falling off trying to build this thing and blow
Lots
it up?
of people died. Is this person perhaps an 11-year-old doing some sort of like history project?
But then, we don't talk in this podcast at all about why these guys were chosen, but he does kind of go in a poetic way about why they were each distinguished. So that's kind of neat. And so if you want to read a bad poem with a lot of exclamation marks in which every stanza rhymes, this is the great thing. But I'll wrap it up with the last phrases. This beautiful national memorial is Mount Rushmore, South Dakota.
Exclamation point.
It should say in Mount Rushmore. Wait, is Mount Rushmore, South Dakota.
You don't tell them what poetry is or isn't.
God, I feel so bad now. When you see these 4 granite faces, you won't regret one iota that rhymed with Dakota. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I had to do
No,
that.
we're all sorry.
We're all
Everyone's
there
the
with you.
worst for it.
We're all
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, so these gentlemen, valiantly went to search for differentiated choices, and because their brains are sometimes shaped the same way, then they came up with some similar choices. Okay, well, let's recap the choices that we did get. North by Northwest, they both chose. Team America World Police, both chose. Superman Deuce, they both chose. And Michael had the Washington Nationals Rushmore 4 racing presidents. When you said Washington Nationals, I thought of the Washington Generals, the team that the Harlem Globetrotters. Later. And then Richard had Mount Richmore, Richie Rich from Richard. Wait a second. Richard chose Richie Rich. Okay.
Mount Richmore.
Okay, all right.
Yes, okay, I'm Richie Rich.
Oh my God.
How do you think we've been funding the podcast? How do you think the studio got built?
All right, so the winning choices that are being etched up with this granite clank sound effect right now are North by Northwest, Team America World Police, Superman 2, and Mount Richmore, Richie Rich.
Woo-hoo.
Richard's selfish choice.
Gotta vote for the rich every time.
Hey, if you have hung out with us for these 50 episodes, we want to thank you for being a companion to this podcast. And if you're a person who's messaged us via Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or something to respond to what we do here in the affirmative or the negative or the ambivalent, we do appreciate that you're in a dialogue with us. So thanks so much for hanging in for these 50 episodes, and we hope for 50 good more.
Yeah, and if you are new to the show, we've got 49 other episodes for you to peruse, listen, and enjoy.
Yeah. So this has been the Mount Rushmore. I'm, as always, Jeff.
I'm Richard.
I'm Michael.